This video is going to show how to use UV and Coiled together to run your Python scripts on the cloud. So here locally on my laptop, I have a process.py script that looks like this. It uses pandas to load in a Parquet data set that's stored in a public bucket on S3, and then it prints out the first 5 rows of the data set. So to run the script, I'll need pandas installed. I'll need, to read the Parquet file, I'll need pyarrow, and to read the file on AWS, I'll need S3FS installed. So I'm going to run this script locally using UV. And UV has a really slick way for specifying those dependencies that a script needs directly into the script. So you can use UV add and then just tell it the script you are wanting to run, and then give it any dependencies that are needed. So in this case, pandas, pyarrow, and S3FS. And UV has updated our script to include these comments. So it has all the dependencies listed here as inline metadata directly in the script. So if I wanted to run this script, I can do UV run process.py. And what's happening here is UV is in the background creating a virtual environment for us, installing all those dependencies that are needed for the script, and then running the script in that virtual environment. And what's nice is I didn't really have to handle managing all of that state myself. It kind of happens for me in the background. And what you're noticing here is that this script is taking a while. And that's because we're actually needing to stream that data set that's stored in AWS down to my laptop. And that can take a while. So it's done now. There's the first 5 rows of that particular data set. For this script, that actually is fine. We don't need more performance out of this particular script. But as you start processing larger volumes of cloud data, this can become prohibitively slow and also expensive. There's egress costs associated with moving data outside of AWS. So the more data you move out, the more it costs. So instead of running this script locally, like I just did here on my laptop, I want to run this script in the cloud. And for that, we'll use Coiled. So similar to how UV has this inline metadata for specifying Python dependencies, Coiled allows you to add comments to specify cloud hardware and other configuration. So I'm going to add these 2 comments here. This first comment, this container comment, tells Coiled, whenever you spin up a VM to run this script, go ahead and use this Docker container. This is just a small Docker container from the UV team. We just need to, in this particular case, make sure UV is installed on the cloud VM. This region comment tells Coiled to spin up a VM in the US East 2 cloud region on AWS. That just happens to be where this particular data file lives. So with those two comments, we'll go ahead and run our script. So before we ran UV run process.py, so to run this same exact script on the cloud, we'll do coiled batch run and then our existing command. And what's going to happen here is Coiled is going to take this script and run it on a VM, in this case on AWS, for us. So we've submitted that work now, and we can go click here to look at the Coiled UI to get a more detailed look of what's going on. So we can see the code that's actually being run here, and it's the same script I had locally on my laptop. And this particular workflow is just using a single VM. So I can see the status of that VM over time here. I can see for a few seconds it was queued, then starting. The instance is now running. In another second or 2, we'll see it start downloading that UV Docker container. I can also see that it's running in US East 2, like I asked, and I didn't specify the instance type to run on. I could have added a third comment to do that. But right now we're using this default M6i xlarge instance on AWS. And yeah, we're now downloading that UV Docker container. And because that Docker container is so small and minimal, it doesn't take very long to download it. I can see we're in the ready state. So we're actually now running this script on that VM. And this runtime for the script will actually be less than what we saw on my laptop, again, because we didn't have to transfer that data outside of AWS. and the script is run. I can go to the logs here and see the exact same output that I saw on my laptop, but just now on that cloud VM. And this is what it looks like to run Python scripts on the cloud using UV and Coiled. And what's nice here is I didn't have to specify a bunch of different config files. I didn't have to go click around through the AWS console. I was able to just add a couple of comments saying, hey, here's the cloud hardware, some configuration that I'd like, and then hit go. And things ran for us. So in this particular case, I didn't have any real hardware, needs. The script is relatively small, but what's nice is I can use that same simple approach to much larger real world problems. I can say, give me a machine with 128 cores, or give me a cluster of 10 machines with each of them having, 256 gigabytes of RAM, or I need an A100 GPU. Please run my script, my PyTorch training script on that GPU for me, please. You can use that same sort of simple approach for much larger real-world applications. So with that, I'll say thank you very much for the time.